This is your boy Roto Beast. I'm here with my boy Jeremy. We're here to present you our MLB On Deck segment for Friday, May 24th. If you're new to this channel, please make sure and click the subscribe button below. This you can watch all my MLB, NBA, and NFL videos. And if you haven't come and checked out our website here at dfscheatsheet.com, you're absolutely missing out. We have all the tools to help you compete with the pros day in and day out, including a complete optimizer, tons of content, daily FanDuel, and DraftKings cash lineups. We're one-stop shop for all your DFS needs. So make sure to come check out the site here at dfscheatsheet.com. So, hey, what up, Jay? How you doing out there, bro?
What's up, man? How you doing?
Hey, doing pretty good. Another day. I was looking at today's slate. We got a lot of really good spots on today's slate. Today's a day that I think we're really gonna have to dig in and kind of figure out kind of where we want to go, because there's some really, really good spots for sure. Have you had a chance to take a look at the slate yet?
Yes.
How you feeling? Same way, kind of?
Now, there's some spots to be very contrarian, and then the thing is, right, like, you don't have to really worry about ownership so much on a slate this big with 14 games on it. You know, the ownership gets kind of spread out, especially a slate like this where you've got, you know, some of the better pitchers out there and Coors Field.
Right.
By far, Coors Field should be the most popular spot today for more than one reason. But yeah, man, it's a good slate. It's a good spot. There's some really obvious spots. I think there's some spots that are really good. They're a little less obvious as well. We talked about a couple of those before we hopped on. So yeah, I like the slate quite a bit.
For sure. I mean, I'm ready to jump into it, and I mean, we could get going. As always, though, this video is more of just kind of a brief overview, a general idea of some spots that we're looking at, bat-wise, pitching-wise. If you do want a more in-depth analysis on today's slate, we got our five or six different articles and content pieces up on the site. So make sure to check it out, dfscheatsheet.com. Get yourself 14-day free trial. Give you 2 weeks to make sure that our product is right for you. You got absolutely nothing to lose. So check it out, man. So I'm ready to jump into it, kind of talk some bats. We'll start at Coors Field. Obviously, anytime Coors Field is on the slate, it's usually one of the best spots to target. It's starting to get hot now too. So, balls are going to start flying a little bit more, everywhere, in the MLB, but especially in Coors Field when it gets hot, balls fly. I'll start with Colorado Rockies. They have the highest implied total on the slate, over 6 runs on today's slate. They get a matchup against John Means for Baltimore. He's not a very good pitcher. The guy gives up a 121 hard contact to left-handers, 172 hard contact to right. 121 ISO to lefties, 172 ISO to righties. He has a 30% hard contact rate. Colorado as a team, they have a 209 team ISO. I definitely think that Colorado is probably the best team on this slate to target. Definitely on the other side of things, you're going to look at Baltimore as well. But I'm really, really liking the Rockies. I mean, I got to kind of just wait and see, who shakes out in the lineup. One guy that I want to kind of just throw out there is probably going to be really low owned, and you were actually telling me a little bit about him. It's this young guy, Brendan Rodgers. The guy is very, very good hitters. Very, very good hitter. You want to give us a quick overview of him and kind of why you were telling me about him earlier?
Yeah, so Hampson and Rogers are two guys that Colorado's big on. Two of their top prospects. This guy, he had 158 plate appearances, 145 official at bats, and he had 48 hits and 9 bombs in AAA. So we talk about Austin Riley. He was the guy that I was all over. I talked about him on this video when they called him up. And I don't know how many people were aware of who he was or actually took our word for it, but he actually started at 2,100. He hit a home run for his first hit in the majors was a home run. The guy's been on absolute fire. He's hit more than a couple of bombs over the last week. Another big game yesterday for the Braves. So this guy, Brendan Rodgers, is another rookie that you need to pay attention to. He's 3,100. He's put up at least, I believe, at least 6 fantasy points in all of his first 4 games. So it's a guy that Colorado's high on, really solidifies. There's been 3 rookies. I can't pronounce the kid's name for Milwaukee, but Milwaukee ended up putting Travis Shaw on the injured list and brought this kid up from AAA. He's been on fire. He's hit a couple of home runs. Brendan Rodgers in the same type of situation with Daniel Murphy. Daniel Murphy has not played really well for the Rockies as their second baseman. They're bringing this kid Brendan Rodgers up. He's a second baseman. Really solidify this infield. It would probably allow Daniel Murphy to play first base exclusively and kind of maybe put Mark Reynolds as the odd guy out for them. But this guy's been on fire for sure in his first 4 games. Very cheap price tag of $3,100 at Coors Field. He's my home run call of the day, to be honest with you. I think this kid's going to go yard today, $3,100 against Baltimore. The only thing that I will disagree with you with a little bit is with John Means. John Means has not been a gas can. He's not a bad pitcher. John Means has been a guy that I've used in tournaments this year. John Means has had some decent starts. So I wouldn't say he's an absolute gas can. I wouldn't say he's a terrible pitcher. He is pitching at Coors Field, though.
Yeah, for sure. No, I get you completely. So Rockies, we like the Rockies. Top stack on the slate. We just kind of see how the lineup shakes out and kind of go from there. You look on the other side of things, you got to look at Baltimore as well. They get a matchup against Jeff Hoffman. Hoffman's numbers are, he doesn't have bad numbers. He gives up a 27% hard contact, a 0.00% ISO to lefties, 0.100 to righties. So it's not bad, but he is in course.
But Jeff Hoffman, let's just be really clear about something. He's only made 1 start. He's been recalled from AAA. He has a 7.20 ERA. He's not a good pitcher. Like the ISO numbers and the WOBA, it's not a good sample size.
Right, for sure. And then on the flip side, you got Baltimore. They have a 164 team ISO. I just think this is a spot that on both sides, I think this game is going to be one of those games where you're going to see a 10-9 score, something like that. Definitely like this game. I want to attack both sides and get as much exposure as I can. Moving outside of Coors Field, which is the more obvious spot, everybody pretty much knows to attack Coors Field when it's on the slate. I like the Minnesota Twins. They get a matchup today against Ronaldo Lopez, who has a 38% hard contact, 220 ISO to lefties, 193 ISO to righties. Twins as a team, they have a 235 team ISO. You can attack him from both sides of the plate. I'm not going to sit here and name, every single player for the Twins, but you definitely want to look at some Twins. I think there's some guys that are in some very, very good spots. A couple of top guys you can look at. You can look at Eddie Rosario, really starting the season on fire. What's the nose price? Do you know? I know he's just coming back. Usually when people come back they're pretty cheap.
Who you asked me about?
I was just price tag. No, he's 3,500. Is that what it is?
Yeah, 3,500.
Yeah, so 3,500. The guy, he's coming back from injury. He's been back for about a week now, and he's came back on fire, man. He already has 4 home runs. I'm pretty soon they're gonna move him up into the 3-hole cleanup spot. That's where they've always had him. Right now they have him a little bit lower. The 2 guys really standing out for me that I like playing on the Twins, and I've been doing it all the way since last year. You're looking at Rosario, you look at Sano, you could even throw Scope in there. Obviously they're all in play, but those are 3 guys that I like a lot. Minnesota is definitely in play on this slate. Moving on, I'm going to go with the Dodgers. I like the Dodgers today. They get a matchup against Chris Stratton, who just isn't very good pitcher, gives up a 37% hard contact rate, 200 ISO to lefties, 266 ISO to righties. And then the Dodgers as a team, they have a 206 ISO. There's some guys that are definitely in play. Hey, can you give us a little bit more on Stratton? He's coming from the Giants. What do you think about the Dodgers today?
He's coming from the Angels.
For the Angels? I thought he was with the Giants earlier this year. That last year.
That was last year.
Oh, last year. Okay, gotcha.
Last year, Stratton had a decent season, and that's probably what got him a major league contract, to be honest with you. But a lot of it had to do with the ballpark.
Right.
Stratton has been a guy that has been a gas can this year with the Angels, and now he's landed with the Pirates. The Pirates, obviously, they've had starting pitching problems the entire year. Chris Archer was the guy they went and got last year, and Chris Archer is a guy that I've consistently targeted all season. Their starting pitching hasn't worked out very well. Obviously, didn't get the best side of that. Glasnow's been outstanding for the Rays this year, but they picked up Stratton. This is a guy that look for this to be a bullpen game. That's my opinion about it. This is a really good spot for the Dodgers. Very familiar against Stratton. They faced him, I think, 3 times last year when he was with the Giants. I want to say he shut them down in Dodger Stadium in one of those starts. But they, very familiar with him. Very familiar with him.
Yeah, Dodgers. I expected to be a team a little bit lower owned today, and they have a chance to put up a bunch of runs. Bullpen game, like you said. Shad's a lefty, so you want to start kind of go with the lefty mashers, Kiki Hernandez, David Freese. Those guys are basically in the lineup to smash lefties. Justin Turner, Chris Taylor are going to be in the lineup for the same reason. Turner is more of a regular everyday player. I just want to kind of mention that. You can look at, I feel comfortable with him, whether it's a lefty or
not a lefty
on the mound.
Stratton is not a lefty. Stratton's a right-handed pitcher.
He's not a lefty?
No, he's a right-handed pitcher.
Oh, shoot. I'm all over the place. Okay, yeah. Well, then you see the reason they throw me off because they got a bunch of lefty mashers in the Dodgers lineup projected right now. So, yeah, either way, I like the Dodgers. Like I said, Turner, you can still look at Kiki. He's hitting righties a lot better. And then now that he's lefties, you got to just go after all the – since he's a righty, you got to go after all the Dodger lefties. Bellinger, Corey Seager, Verdugo. If Muncy's in the lineup, you could consider him. Dodger stack definitely in play, on today's slate. Outside of – I'll just quickly sum up my top 4 teams. It's both sides of Coors Field, Colorado, Baltimore, Minnesota, Dodgers. And there is 3 more teams that I'm really liking. I'm not going to go too in-depth, but they're really standing out to me. It's St. Louis going against Mike Fultonwich. You got Oakland going against Wade LeBlanc. And then you got the Angels going against Smiley. I think that those 3 are also really, really good spots. So that's how I was telling you today. There's a bunch of spots to attack. It was hard to kind of narrow it down to a couple of teams. Did I miss any other teams that were really jumping out to you?
I think there's some teams that are in some really good spots. First and foremost, I would mention that Kansas City. There's going to be a lot of. It looks like to me a lot of rain coming up over the course of the weekend here. So tonight's game, you're going to want to monitor that because I think both those teams are in decent spots. Obviously, you get a little bit of a downgrade to bats because of the ballpark, but both teams with all the ability in the world to put a ton of runs on the board. So, there's some other spots. Some interesting spots is Chris Sale against Houston. Houston has not scored very many runs, and I think that they've been on the wrong side of their last 2 games, and coincidentally, no George Springer in either one of those. Giolito got after him last night. Night before, the White Sox hopped all over Garrett Cole. So, you got Chris Sale in there. Chris Sale starting to put things together a little bit. He just faced them last week. It'll be very interesting to see that matchup. Chris Sale at 10.8 on FanDuel. Philadelphia is at Milwaukee. That's another spot that I think is very, very interesting. I think both sides of that are very interesting. We know it's a hitter's ballpark. I also think the White Sox, if you look at their numbers against right-handed pitching, and they've got 3 guys that really are hitting the absolute crap out of the baseball against right-handed pitching. Abreu, Moncada, Wellington Castillo is a guy you could throw in there. So I think against Berrios, they're extremely, extremely interesting. Berrios is a little bit interesting as well. His strikeout upside has not been the same at home and on the road. It's been a little bit different. He is at home tonight, should get a little bit of a bump there. But you've got the Tigers going into Citi Field. I almost called it Shea Stadium. That's the old place. That's an interesting matchup for Syndergaard. The Tigers with over a 26% K rate, a very low team ISO at about 158. Tampa Bay and Cleveland. Cleveland's not been a very good baseball team. They haven't. This lineup is not producing. There's already trade talk around Jose Ramirez, and the Indians go after Anthony Rendon because Anthony Rendon's in the last year of his contract. Nolan Arenado signed a huge deal, and before he signed that deal, Rendon was talking about extension, and now he doesn't want to talk about one. Jose Ramirez hasn't played well, and now they're talking about possibly trading him. Rowdy Tellez is the guy that I'm going to give you. Rowdy Tellez has over a 300 ISO against left-handed pitching. He just went yard when against David Price 2 days ago. I think it was 2 days ago. And that was no surprise to me, given the guy has over a 300 ISO against left-handed pitching. We know Rowdy Tallis has the ability to hit bombs. I like him as a one-off play today, and that kind of covers. I mean, that kind of covers bats for the most part. I think there's definitely some interesting matchups though across the board. Arizona, I think in the two of the three teams playing late, and really there's three teams playing late. The Angels against Drew Smiley, I think that can get you can get ownership there at a lower rate. I think Oakland going against LeBlanc. LeBlanc's an absolute gas can. You can get ownership low there. And Arizona, really the peskiest team in baseball this year. They're kind of like the Rays were last year. They've got a solid lineup. They're going to face Pomeranz. We know Pomeranz hasn't been a good pitcher over the last year. He has put some quality starts together, but if you watch Pomeranz pitch, his starts are so shaky where he's got to work through things to get a quality start and to kind of get through 5 or 6 innings. I think Arizona can put some runs up here in the spot. So I think, those three late teams definitely have an opportunity to be low owned and put up a lot of runs.
Yeah, no, that's how it was hard to narrow it down because there's a bunch of really good spots on today's slate. Pitching wise, I mean, is there anybody jumping out to you?
Yeah, I mean, look, Walker Buehler looks like he's really good, right? But if you watch any of the game yesterday, and here's the thing, right? So there's a lot when the slate gets shorter, people's tendency will be to target the pitcher that they think is the worst pitcher or the obvious worst pitcher or a guy that they don't know anything about, right? So Pittsburgh was decently low owned yesterday against Senzatella. They got 8 runs off of it, but no surprise if you look at what they do against right-handed pitching. Pittsburgh struggles against lefties. They struggle big time against lefties. They have like a 23% K rate against lefties. Their ISO is diminished. They have a huge swinging strike percentage against lefties. Walker Buehler's pitched really well this year. He's pitched really well. A lot of talent, rough start against Cincinnati in his last outing, I believe. But Josh Bell, absolutely on fire. And I like Josh Bell at least as a one-off play for Pittsburgh and what he does against right-handed pitching. I think Walker Buehler is interesting. It's not a hitter-friendly environment in Pittsburgh. It's a bigger ballpark. Noah Syndergaard against the Tigers, very interesting. Joey Lucchesi, I think he's really cheap. I think he's too cheap, to be honest with you. $7,000 on FanDuel for him going against Toronto, one of the bottom 3 teams as far as K percent goes. Robbie Ray against the Giants, he's going to get a boost to ballpark. Robbie Ray's been really good this year. Take his last start kind of off the table. He's been really good. Chris Sale's on this. Bieber against Tampa Bay, not the best matchup, but Bieber has been lights out this year. This guy has really solidified his spot in Major League Baseball. This guy, he's pitched really well. So there's a ton of interesting options on the slate. Kyle Hendricks has pitched really well this year. Jared Eichhoff has pitched decently this year, very cheap. You got Mike Fultonavich. I think St. Louis is another team that we didn't talk about, but I think St. Louis is in a really good spot here today as well. And then, look, Blake Snell. Blake Snell's probably, in my opinion, the second best pitcher on the slate. He's 11-2 on FanDuel. You look at you could save $400, go to Chris Sale against Houston. I think with Chris Sale, one of the things to watch right off the bat is going to be if George Springer is in that lineup. If Springer's in that lineup, I don't know if I want to pay 10-8 for him. I could probably go down to 8-7 and pick up Robbie Ray. But I think it'll be a tough matchup for Chris Sale today in Houston. But, Chris Sale's been really good this year. I think Syndergaard's probably my favorite guy at 10-6 against the Tigers. The Tigers they have a very high – there's a ton of strikeout upside in that lineup.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, that's kind of where we're at.
Let me say one more thing, right? If there are going to be spots going forward to target the Tigers. Yesterday and the last couple of days against the Marlins is an example of that, where the Tigers, it's a shorter slate. The Tigers are on the slate, and they're facing a bad pitcher. Like yesterday, where they're facing Richards. There's going to be spots to target them. Miguel Cabrera is not a guy you need to be targeting. If you're going to target the Tigers, and I'm just going to throw that out there now, I'm not saying that they're in play today, but Miguel Cabrera, his power numbers are really, really, really bad. And it's not a guy that I would be loading up in my lineups, even if you were trying to get a contrarian lineup against Syndergaard today. He's not a guy that I would consider in my stacks. Miguel Cabrera is just not – I think his ISO right now is 091.
Hey, He's a little bit older now. You know, one of the best hitters that we ever had in baseball, but definitely getting a little bit older. So yeah, so hey, that's kind of where we're at. There's a bunch of good spots. You know, bat wise, there's some really good pitching spots. It's a monster slate. It's just a slate where you're gonna have to take a more in-depth analysis. So hey, man, make sure go check out Jeremy's deep dive video. You know, he does a really good breakdown with that. I'll have my cash game core plays up shortly. We got a bunch of other stuff going on. So, hey, check it out, dfscheatsheet.com. Get yourself a 14-day free trial. Don't miss out. Join the money team. And, hey, good luck on your guys' contest tonight. Peace out.